What's going on, YouTube? I'm Scotch.
And I'm Sniff.
And we're ScotchNSniff.
I don't know why that got so guttural. Today, we're doing... I don't know why I'm being so secretive with mine.
Yeah, you're being super secretive.
We're doing top 10 whiskeys for beginners.
For beginners. It's been a while since we've done a video for the young folk.
Yeah, no, we're
not too young.
You don't have to. You can be any age and be a whiskey beginner, except for people under the age of 21 in America or 18 for the rest of the world, or 16 in some really weird countries.
Well, some countries don't even have drinking age.
Correct. Yeah. No, some countries have. Some countries got weird stuff going on. Anyways,
actually, comment down below what your country's drinking age is, because I'm unsure of Germany's, because I don't know if they have one.
I thought
they
Germany,
have
you come out of the
Kindersteins.
womb and then you start drinking beer.
They actually give you a stein and they water down some beer for you.
Because they wean you off of the boob to go to beer, right?
That's right.
Isn't that how it works?
That's right.
Don't they have nipple caps for steins in Germany?
They do. I have one for myself.
Oh, baby. What about the nephews? What about your kids?
They just drink whiskey.
I knew it. Anyways,
start them young.
It's right. It has been a minute since we did a top 10 good stuff for beginners. We do love beginners. Those are our favorites because we were beginners before, and now we just like to help people all the time. Like I have friends and stuff get into whiskey because a lot of times there's no like roadmap that anybody has, and some of the ones that are out there are really janky and not enjoyable.
Or you're watching these YouTube videos where people are far more advanced and they don't talk about the origins and like.
Oh, I wanted to do that for a video where we talk about like. Anyways, yeah, no, because when you start talking about palates, you start explaining like your palate can get so good. But remember the video that we saw, the coffee video, where the guy was talking about like. Did I send that to you?
I don't think so.
Dang it.
Other brother.
I don't have another brother. Brother of another mother. No, but there was a video that a guy had made, a coffee video that I really like from this guy. And basically he made a video where like, you're always chasing the next high for coffee, like looking for the next best, looking for whatever. And then like, once you get to a point where you've had like the best of the best and there's nothing else left, it's like, well then what do you do? But it was funny because he said some people, to reset their palate, they just go back to like drinking crap coffee. But I thought about the same thing in the same context of whiskey. It's the same thing. Like, I think we're in a different boat because we try to drink things that are new and fresh and young and different. So it's not always the same. But you see a lot of people who get to a point where they're like, I only drink cask strength, non-chill filtered, no color added, single barrel whiskey from only certain distilleries where I know that they use exactly the kind of water that's pH balanced for what I'm looking for.
You're basically taking your scope and you're just narrowing it with the cask strength, single barrel, and then
non-chill filter, no color added,
only out of this glass, only at this time during the night, and then
and only if it makes me pee so much. Like, so narrowing down your palate is a good thing because it teaches you what you like, but limiting the options of what you have out there to sip on,
it limits your breadth of knowledge.
It limits everything that you can enjoy from what's out there. Because if there's anything that I've learned about people, is that anybody could teach you anything. Even people that you're like, oh, person's dumb. Like, you could learn something from them and you didn't even realize it.
It might be dumb, but you're going to learn it from them.
Right. Or it could be smart and you just realize that there's wisdom in all kinds of things. But it's the same thing for whiskey. Like, there are good things in a lot of them. It's a matter of whether or not you're willing to go and find them. So
I feel like, do you want to continue on with this video, or do you want to move, or do you want to actually change it?
Nah, we need to do this beginner video, bro. Okay. We could do that some other time.
Because as far as the palate development,
it just gets me hyped because like a lot of people look down on people who are trying things like Knob Creek or say Crown Royal or even Wee Beastie. A lot of our bed people are like, oh, don't get Wee Beastie.
I was just talking to Jason about how like, people they look down on you mixing things like an expensive bottle with something else. But when it comes down to it, it's you
your journey,
this.
It's your adventure, it's your experience.
Not just that, but like if you enjoy this bottle on its own, sipping it, you're probably gonna like it in a cocktail as well. Because what cocktails are supposed to do is amplify the base cocktail. Or the base spirit.
Exactly. Exactly. Amplify the bass. Take it to the chorus. I don't know what's happening.
Justin Timberlake, hit us up. Like, comment, subscribe.
That's where my brain went.
So when it comes to beginner spirits, you want to start off on the list?
We did go two different routes. I didn't know my brother was going to be picking so much bourbon and American whiskeys. I definitely
left it open.
Which is great because that's what we want to do, right? So I went totally Scotch. Just that's the way my brain thinks. Like when I think of beginners, I think of when I think of a type of whiskey that anyone can get into for me, I think of Scotch. I don't think of bourbon, mostly because brown, caramel. Yeah, vanilla. To me that might be a little bit too. That's almost like underselling what whiskey can do, and it's undercutting what your palate's capable of.
So let me tell you where I was coming from with that aspect. Then, because I do think that once you get past the alcohol portion of it, to where it's just like, oh my goodness, this is so hot, this is so foreign to my tongue, and the reason why I went with more of a bourbon spin is because it's sweeter. People are like, oh, that's help. So smooth. And
like a table,
like a tablet. So that's why I went this route.
This totally makes sense. Yeah. This is gonna be super good.
Super good.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. Because you're being so secretive. The first one on my list, it's not this.
Secretive?
Secretive. That sounds gross. It is gross. So this isn't the Knob Creek that I started off with, but the first whiskey, and it took me a while because I was just like, what was the first whiskey? But it was either Knob Creek or Crown Royal. Not this Crown Royal, but just basic Crown Royal.
I mean, this is basic.
And I liked them, or I picked them because they were sweeter. And at that time, I didn't want alcohol burn. I didn't want, the flavors were straightforward. Sure, I look back at it now and I'm just like, yeah, it was vanilla, it was brown.
That's what people really mean when they say smooth, though. Right. They want no alcohol burn. Right. They want it to be smooth going down.
Some people have described the smooth as being sweet, but no, I don't believe that at all.
Things.
It's just that when somebody wants something smooth, they just don't want it to burn as they're drinking it. And it's pretty hard it's hard to find a whiskey like that if you aren't experienced with drinking
high-proof alcohol.
High-proof alcohol, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. So like a lot of times it's getting used to drinking things that are higher proof that will help your palate to like better judge it in the future. It's like anything else. If your gauge of happiness is only from the worst is pooping in the toilet and the best is getting a free car, then you're not going to understand what it's like when you win a free airplane. And you're not going to understand what it's like when you win a free yacht. Like those things, you have to understand that there's an entire range. And if you limit yourself to a small range, then like you're only going to get a small bit.
Right.
But life is so much more bigger than that. And we know you're capable of tasting a lot more than that. And so your first was the Knob Creek. That's kind of crazy. All right, I'm going to go with my first one. First one, Glenfiddich 12. I put that up here because from a Scotch perspective, Glenfiddich 12, it is the #1 selling single malt in the world, but it's also friendly. It's also easy to drink. It's also smooth like people like because it has very little alcohol at 40%, which a lot of people look down on, but there's plenty of 40% alcohol that's good out there. We'll do a video on it one day. But the Glenfiddich, it's easy to taste the flavors. For me, when I define a beginner whiskey, it has to be easy to taste the flavors because everybody hates that feeling of like, what am I tasting?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is and I don't know how to describe it. But when somebody can, I love giving Glenfiddich 12 to people because you're like, what do you taste? They're like, apples? Like, yes. They're like, pear? Yes.
Yeah.
They're like, and they can name anything because your palate is yours. So they'll name stuff. But like apple and pear is so apparent that it makes it really easy for even a beginner to be like, oh, I can grow a little confidence, grow that little, palate muscle so that they can get a better idea of what's going on. It's important.
Yeah.
You gotta work your musculos.
So and also with saying that where he's just like, yes, core flavors that I think Glenfiddich would like to, kind of show you are the apple and the pear. But if you taste something different, it's all good. If you're like, oh, well, I get like a Szechuan peppercorn or something like that. Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
And this could, like this, I can see that I'm focusing more on another rant, but we won't go there and maybe just continue.
Yeah, but like, again, because the new 12 is mixed with sherry also. It's a sherry and ex-bourbon cask. Like, for me, the new 12 that they released, I think it tastes more sherry than the old one. But it's whatever. They're mixing stuff up. So that's my #1.
Yeah. So my #2 would be Crown Royal. I moved on from the Knob Creek because I think it was more just price. I think Knob Creek was actually more expensive than Crown Royal, Crown being just a Canadian.
Northern Minnesota.
Yeah. And it's also more along the same lines. I think the picks that I chose are kind of, I guess, the same kind of story. They're all friendly, easy to drink. A lot of people will mix these. Knob Creek goes with Coke. Crown goes with Coke. So that's more of the type of thing. I was drinking them traditionally just as mixers because I still didn't like the burn that they came up with even at 40%?
Not that.
Not that one, but
60%.
Maybe 43% max.
Yeah, 40% for like regular Crown Royal.
Yeah. Yep. But they're just easy to drink, palatable, and the flavors are there.
That's what you want. So for people who are going in the Scotch realm, another different way to delve is, I didn't put it up here, but GlenDronach 12. And the reason I went with GlenDronach 12 is because it's the new Macallan 12. Let's be serious. The old Macallan 12 was super sherry, so you can taste what a sherry bomb tastes like, and you can taste the influence of like the dark fruit, the raisins, the tannins, the toffees, everything you want to taste in a Macallan. The new ones are a little different, so we're not going to go there. Again, that's a rant for another time. But GlenDronach 12, which is starting to get expensive and people starting to hop on the hype train, is the new Macallan 12, where if you're looking for sherry flavors so you can taste what it tastes like, then that's going to give it to you. And for a beginner who's getting into Scotch, you got fruity, you've got sherry, and we'll get into the other ones after that.
That's funny that it's taken that long for people to get on the GlenDronach.
GlenDronach? Oh, train. Now it's nonstop, especially once people found that chart that shows you the real ages of the 18s, the 15s, and the 21s. People went nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. My next one would be Johnny Walker. Ooh. And just because it's prevalent. It is the number one world-selling whiskey.
Yeah, Johnny Walker Red.
Regardless of what you think about Johnny Walker or whatever connotations come to your mind when you think about that, or if it's just like, oh, Johnny Walker Blue, that's the best of their line, or maybe even the best of the best, or whatever you think it is. Regardless of all that, you'll always find them at a bar. I don't think there's any bar that doesn't stock Johnny Walkers of some variety.
At least red, at least black.
Yeah, and those... And then if you're at a steakhouse, I think Ruth's Chris and a whole bunch of other steakhouses, they always have blue, and they're always like 100 times marked up. And but like it doesn't mean that it's the best. It's tasty.
But to a beginner, you've got a lot of flavors to work with in Johnny Walker because they're a blend. So you've got tons of different kinds of. You've got, I mean, some of their cheaper blends. You've got literally single grain sweetness to work with. You've got some single malt, flavor to work with, and all those things are being mashed together.
It's a variety.
You just have a lot.
Peat, sweet. Yeah, it's a good mix of things.
Yeah, it's a good beginner one.
It's a good beginner
whiskey. All right, number 3. For peat light, I called it Highland Park. Highland Park 12. If you're getting into Scotch and you don't want to jump into the peat pool, who does want to jump into a pool made out of earth from the ground that we dug up and we burned? I know, some people absolutely love it. But if you're just trying to dip your toe in the pool, go Highland Park. Highland Park 12, 4 or 5 ppm, which is parts per million for the amount of phenols, which are the smoke aspect of what actually goes from the peat, the earth they're burning and putting into the grain. So it's super low in terms of the amount of peat flavor that you're going to get, but it gives you a really good experience of, especially if you've never had a peated whiskey before, it really lets you know, like, this is what you're getting into.
You're either going to like that and be like, oh, okay, I want to include that, or you're going to be like,
nope.
Why does it taste like, decayed earth?
Yeah, smoke. Why does it taste like a campfire? Why does it taste like medicine?
Yeah.
So?
Oh, okay. My next one would be Stag Junior.
Ooh. Back to the bourbon.
And I went there because it's a higher proof. Yeah, and if you're a beginner and you're looking for a higher proof something, the price to proof ratio, I don't think you can beat that.
It used to be good.
It used to be good? Now it's expensive? Oh, okay. I'd probably have to look for another one. But it brings a lot of heat, and you'll learn, ooh, I can either palate that, like I can take that, I enjoy that, or I want to steer clear of that. And it's a good lesson in learning like how much water you can add before you either drown something out and you can still enjoy it, or it's still palatable, or you're just like, no, I like it at 57 or 62.
Absolutely, because the only way to get used to high proof is to drink high proof. I hate saying it, but it's true. The next one, in case you do want to just jump into the peat pool, I took a bunch of friends out one time, let them try it. I literally bought them 10 different whiskeys and nothing was hitting. And I was like, you know what? Let me try this. And I ordered Ardbeg 10. I put Wee BC in the same pile, but Ardbeg 10 is, if you like peat right now, you're like, yeah, Ardbeg 10. If you don't like peat right now, you're like, where's my vomit bag? Ardbeg 10 is like, if you, like, it's sweet for just a second, and then it's everything that peat lovers want.
Heavy iodine.
It is heavy iodine. It is Band-Aids. It is rubber bands. It is abandoned hospital beds.
And if you don't know what he's talking about, it's as if you're eating those rubber bands, Band-Aids, iodine, like pouring iodine in your
Imagine the
mouth.
Smells in an abandoned hospital, and now you're eating those.
You're eating those.
It's disgusting.
Do you like that?
No, but Pete heads love that.
Peatheads do
love it. I think it's the greatest thing in the world. So some people's palates are just tuned to like that, and the rest of us on the planet who are normal are not so much. But as a beginner, you should try it at least, so you can see, like, that's my thing or that's not my thing.
Yeah,
and if it's
you
your
might
thing,
like it.
Yeah, if you like it, you'll go down the Lefroy train. You'll love, younger Bowmores. You'll love all that stuff that's just like
and even from there, you might go a different route, like not just the medicinal type of peat, but more the fiery peat, like Lagavulin.
Yeah, there you go.
And even there,
Christmas trees.
Yeah, burning Christmas trees, embers of like sour wood sap, like whatever floats your boat. But yeah. My last one would be Jim Beam. And it's not just because Beam Suntory hooked up and I love Suntory because of Hibiki, but just because Jim Beam is a great mixer. If you're into making cocktails, and a lot of beginners love to mix their spirits with cocktails, you can mix it. Yeah, you can mix it with something heavy like an old fashioned that has tons of sugar in it that might hide things, but then still taste that base spirit of Jim Beam, which is it's a good bourbon. I don't want to.
I'm trying to talk it up.
Yeah, I don't want to talk it up because it isn't like, oh my goodness, crazy mind blowing. But it can support itself when put in a cocktail with strong flavors.
Beam doesn't hit for my palate, but it's whatever you like. And the last thing I put down, since the other one was the penultimate, this is the last and final. I put down and this is a cop out, absolutely. Even though I did have a backup, I'm not going to say what it is, but my cop out for the last type of whiskey for beginners is the one you're willing to sit down and try to analyze.
Yeah, that's a cop out.
If you're trying, oh my gosh, if you're trying to get into whiskey,
where do I buy that one?
Shelf at a local store. That's the thing. If you're trying to buy whiskey, if you don't actually buy whiskey, you're not gonna give your palate and your life a chance to really figure out what you like. The only way to figure out what you like and don't like, it's just like with food. You have to go try it.
Yeah.
And if you don't try it, then you'll never know whether you liked it or not. It's the same thing with whiskey. You have to just go try more. If that means you go to a bar and you go order a bunch of, single ounces of whatever so you can try a bunch of different stuff, fine, so be it. If that means you're buying, that saves you a ton of money, by the way, which we have a totally different video on how to save money buying whiskey. Link the video. So like,
link the video.
I told you, I'm yelling at my future self.
Angry monkey.
But like, you'll never know what it is you like and don't like until you really try the breadth of what's out there for whiskey. You don't have to try every whiskey, but you should definitely.
Well, that would be impossible.
Yeah, of course it'd be impossible. Like, you're not trying to sit there and just like do shots. You're not doing that. It's terrible. You're not trying to sit there and like sip the whiskey and become a pretentious person. You're just trying to sit there and analyze with your palate, because it's different. What does this whiskey taste like?
And by the way, sipping whiskey and analyzing it or thinking about it, you don't have to use the word analyze, but like sitting there and like thinking about it doesn't make you pretentious. Just because you don't want to throw back your whiskey, don't let other people's expectations or their kind of like wants or how they do something affect you.
Right, it means you're just trying to learn about the whiskey and enjoy it for yourself.
Boom.
And the only thing that separates, in my mind a lot of times, a beginner from somebody more advanced in whiskey is how much time they're willing to sit there and think about what it is that they're drinking, because it means they're trying to find the other flavors that are in it. Some whiskeys are boring and you'll only find 1 or 2 flavors. And some whiskeys are super exciting and you'll find tons of flavors and you'll go back to it and it'll be different every single time. That's part of the fun. Sometimes it's about learning what did I eat during the day and how does that affect how my whiskey tastes. These things are all factors in your palate
or
and
when
how
you're
it changes.
drinking the whiskey.
What time? Yeah, no. One guy recommended to me, he was like, have you ever tried a whiskey first thing in the morning? He's like, because your palate's super fresh. And I was like, that sounds gross, but I mean, I gave it a try.
This was great.
My senses aren't awake that early in the morning. I don't know. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's it though. If you want to go from beginner to not
problem.
beginner, all it is tasting more whiskeys and learning what it is you like and don't like and being able to vocalize those things. And in the beginning, it's tough because you're like, man, this is sweet, this is smooth. And later on, you find other words to use to describe the things because you're like, wow, this is really complex and here's why. And you explain, I'm tasting this, this, and this. That's the only difference. That's it. That's the only difference.
So there's one, I don't know who said it or where it came from, but they said that if you do something 10,000 hours worth of it, then you can become an expert.
A master, an expert, yeah.
Right. And maybe it doesn't work the same way because I think it's more if you have 10,000 hours of trying different whiskeys, you develop your expertise. Not necessarily become an expert because I don't think anybody can be an expert on every single category of whiskey, but you can at least narrow it down for yourself to what you like and where you can journey on to find more things that you like.
Yeah, that's it. This video wasn't even like beginner whiskey, it's more like how to become an expert.
It grew.
That's what you're gonna do.
You're gonna do it.
You're gonna do it.
It was aggressive.
That's really aggressive. Yeah. But yeah, so go out there, try it. Let us know how your adventure's going down below, and we'll talk to you about it because we have fun doing that.
Yeah, or hit us up on Instagram or anything like that and tell us how your journey's going. It doesn't have to just be this platform.
It's always fun, yeah. Even though YouTube really discourages people telling you to get off this platform.
Oh, wow, that's like corporate like.
Oh, I forgot to do that. If you've seen an ad at the beginning of our videos, we're not monetized. YouTube changed their policy and they're not putting ad on everybody's videos. Kind of sucks. So it's whatever. Make that money, YouTube. Thanks for the free platform.